What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the top 10 loadouts of TF2. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Pyro. The Pyro is an extremely controversial class in TF2, so I'd encourage you to keep an open mind when thinking about these loadout suggestions, and then tell me what you think in the comment section down below. The primary weapon on today's top loadout is going to be the backburner. On the secondary weapon we are using the detonator. While this doesn't deal nearly as much damage as a lot of the other Pyro's secondary options, the mobility options it gives will be absolutely essential. Finally, on the melee weapon we're using the power jack. While giving increased speed, this weapon will also give you plus 75 HP on a kill. Up until recently, the Puff and Sting Pyro was considered to be the uncontested best loadout for the class. However, recent changes to the extinguisher have severely limited the effectiveness of that loadout. The loadout I'll be sharing with you today was chosen based on two factors. Number one, as you'd expect, its sheer power. This loadout is capable of melting down a full HP heavy in less than a second, and deals more damage than almost any other weapon in the game. Secondly, the fun factor, because at the end of the day, running through crowds of people beating him to death with a hammer is just a hell of a lot of fun and pretty hard to beat. Now, the typical criticism you'll hear about a loadout like this is that it's a WM1 no-skill loadout for beginners and people who just don't know how to play the game. But today, I'm hoping to show you why that is completely untrue. While the backburner might not require similar aiming skills as a sniper rifle, or the same degree of prediction that a soldier needs to get an airshot, this loadout requires a completely different type of skill, and that's intelligent decision making and positioning. Let's take a closer look at the backburner. This weapon will deal 100% critical hits when attacking from behind. As a consequence, however, air blasting costs 50% extra ammo. This means that just running directly at an enemy soldier really isn't going to pay off very well, because you won't be able to reflect more than 2 or 3 rockets before you run out of ammo. On top of that, to take full advantage of the extra damage bonus that the backburner gives, you'll need to attack enemies and surprise them from behind. This leads us on to our next two weapons, the detonator and the power jack. And what do these two weapons have in common? Mobility, mobility, mobility. With the detonator, you're able to do kind of mini rocket jumps similar to a soldier and get places that people will never expect to see an enemy pyro. The power jack builds on this by giving you increased movement speed at the cost of taking extra damage. On top of that, the extra 75 health you'll get for killing an enemy is just a bonus to give you that extra kind of survivability in battle and come up and whack people from behind when you're low on health. It's extremely important to pick and choose what maps you use these weapons on. This loadout isn't well suited to linear maps like Dust Bowl, as the small number of flank routes makes it extremely hard to take advantage of the extra mobility and get behind the enemy. It is, however, fantastic on maps like Frontier. The extra flank routes that the detonator and the power jack open up mean that you can really flank behind your enemy into places where they won't expect to see you and give them that beautiful crit backburner surprise. While moving around the sides of the battle is important, don't be afraid to think vertical. If there's one thing they've learnt in TF2, it's that people never look up. It's hard to beat the feeling of hiding up in some weird, wacky spot above the enemy, letting them pass, then jumping on them like Ezio from Assassin's Creed. One of the things I enjoy most about this loadout is exploring. Maps that you think you know like the back of your hand can feel completely unexplored again when you switch to this loadout. Little jumps and routes that were previously impossible when playing Pyro are now possible, and discovering those routes for the first time, flanking behind the enemy and singeing them to a crisp with backburner crits is extremely satisfying. At the end of the day, when I'm looking for a loadout that's both extremely fun and capable of destroying the entire enemy team, I just can't go past this one. Forcing yourself to think less about just simple one-on-one fighting and more about positioning and flanking is really interesting and can turn maps I once thought to be fully explored into completely uncharted territory again. Then at the end of the day, when you're sick of burning people to death, just try running at them with a hammer and see how far you can get. The results might surprise you.